And welcome. We're here today to have a chat with the authors of the book that we've been taking a look at for the book study for the ISTE Inclusive Learning Network. It's a pleasure to meet Katie and Tom. So Katie, why don't you introduce yourself first and then Tom, and then we'll do our virtual guests.
Hi, I'm Katie Novak, and I am a district administrator in Massachusetts as well as an education consultant. And I have actually been teaching online for over 10 years. And it's been really exciting because as I've learned more about just pedagogy and transforming teaching and learning, I've seen a lot of amazing things happen in classrooms that are meeting in person. And I think that a lot of classroom teachers are really kind of cognizant of the fact that there's lots of different options and lots of different ways to engage students in really meaningful learning experiences. What I have noticed, however, though, in teaching online for so long, a number of different graduate courses, is that online education has not caught up to the transformation that has happened in face-to-face courses. And as much as we want to think about providing multiple means of representation and expression and engagement, which are the three principles of UDL, what we also often find, and I actually took a graduate course myself online last year at a very reputable university, and every single week was read this and respond in a discussion board with writing. And that was pretty much it. And, you know, it really struck me as that, you know, given that technology in itself is just so innovative and progressive, the actual pedagogical underpinnings of most online education are far more traditional than what is happening in classrooms. And so Tom, who's actually my dad, he works in college teaching and learning. And, you know, we were talking about the fact that, again, people are really receptive to, oh, we have to do something different in person to connect. But we're feeling like maybe we're limited by being behind a computer. And what we're trying to argue is that there are, you know, as many opportunities to develop a really rigorous learning experience online that provides a lot more flexibility to learners than a traditional face-to-face class, which requires that you're bound by time and location and a lot of the times, you know, finances to be able to get there at a certain time. So it's so nice to meet everybody. I'm really psyched to be here. And now I'll introduce Tom, or Dad, as I call him.
Yep, and I'm the one who got her involved in teaching online. Actually, we needed a humanities course here at New England Tech, and I said, hey, you want to convert your rap, rock, and poetry class to an online class? And very quickly, it became an populated course right from the beginning, and it was really a hit on campus. And we were able to kind of like grow in that right from the very beginning. So it's all worked out pretty well. So I've been here at New England Tech for 27 years, and I started as a video teacher. My past life was as a video editor and as a cameraman for a video production company. So I had a lot of experience in video. And you know, the early 90s were a tough spot to be in for a lot of small businesses, and I had the opportunity to come to work at New England Tech full time, and so I grabbed it. And as I got here, very quickly we started thinking about online education, and with my background in video, it made a lot of sense for me to be involved in that. So I actually helped develop the first 2 online courses in there, and those first 2 courses, oddly enough, had video in them. And in 1996, that was quite the challenge. So we have evolved over the years and now have, you know, a department that's concerned solely with online education. And we have instructional designers that now help our faculty develop these things. And just recently, we were selected by U.S. News and World Report as having the 8th best online BSN program, Bachelor Nursing degree program in the country. So we're very, very proud of the fact that, you know, we have beaten that whole idea of read, reflect, discuss syndrome that most online courses have. And, you know, we actually build in interactivity. And as Katie was talking, it reminded me of the fact that so much of the interaction that we create in a face-to-face course is technology-based. You know, we use all these wonderful apps to bring more interactivity into the class, and yet we don't do that in an online course. There's something very, very wrong with that. And Katie and I started with that as the proposition of this course, and went from there.
Awesome, thank you. Susie, why don't you do introductions with the group that you have, and then we'll do the additional participants here today.
She might not have heard you. Is she muted?
Susie?
Yes.
Could you introduce your group, and then we'll go with the additional participants.
All right. I'm Susie Gronseth. I'm a faculty member here at the University of Houston in the Learning Design and Technology program area in the College of Education. And I have with me here face-to-face students in one of our courses. It's called Integrating Technology into the Curriculum. And it's a course that looks at how we can use a variety of tools and effective ways to engage learners and to make content more memorable. And so one of the modules that we're studying is Universal Design for Learning. And so we've decided to integrate the study of UDL in the cloud as part of the things that we're doing in exploring Universal Design for Learning, particularly in online. Now I have a second of this course, and one of the students is currently in this session, and we'll have more in the evening chat that we have tonight. So it's kind of neat to have that authenticity here, that we have online learners that are doing things and experience it from the student side. This really engaged me, or this was effective for me, and this was a barrier for me. So they have that perspective, like you were saying, Katie, of taking a class online, and then that can help you when they deliver instruction, when they design instruction in the future. So if you guys want to say your names real quick, and then I'll give the floor back to you. And I put their names in. And then we have Allison, who's in the online section, and my colleague Donna on this chat as well.
Awesome. So Donna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi there. I teach with Dr. Gronseth in the College of Education at the University of Houston, and currently most of my courses are teaching our undergraduates who want to be teachers in their first semester in instructional technology classes.
And then maybe Allison and Pam, and then we'll get to some of the first questions.
Okay, hi, I'm Allison Nordby, and I'm trying, still kind of working with the audio, so I hope, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. I am in Dr. Gronseth's online course, and I am a graduate student at the University of Houston, getting my master's in Reading and Language Arts Education, and I'm excited to be here.
Okay, thank you. And Pam.
Hi, everybody. I am Pam Shoemaker. I'm an instructional technology coach at a large school district in southeastern Michigan. There's like 15,000 students. So I work with teachers to support them as they use technologies in their classroom. And I do a mix of online and face-to-face type of learning with the teachers. And so I'm enjoying the book, and I appreciate the tips and the tidbits from everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. So just to frame everything here, we've been working on the book for just under 4 weeks, 3+ weeks, and we've sort of wrapped up our reading of the book. So it's really nice to be able to kind of dip in a little deeper with you, Katie and Tom. So we've got a Google, shared Google space where we've been making collaborative notes. I hope you've had a chance to see those. Everything links from the website that was created to kind of collapse and keep everything in one spot. So I'm just going to go to say my first question, and then maybe Susie can ask some questions from the group that she's got there. What's next for you as authors? You've created this core piece of work that kind of is spaced in a certain certain place in terms of online learning and creating, designing online spaces for students. So what happens next for you?
Right now, we started a really kind of exciting project that we are co-teaching some online graduate courses right now in Universal Design for Learning. So it's the first time that we have done that. And so right now, I believe we have currently registered 125 students over a number of different sections, 2 different courses, an intro to UDL and a UDL kind of 201. And the premise is really that we aren't going to necessarily be talking about UDL in the cloud explicitly, but we're going to be modeling UDL in the cloud explicitly, and basically using feedback from our learners to see what is the most effective. And I think that one mistake that I see a lot in practice, I worked with thousands and thousands of educators a year kind of going, and I presented about 50 conferences or districts a year. And what I hear a lot of is this idea of we have this perception that technology is the way to go, and it's so innovative. And sometimes we think that in itself is going to be engaging. And the thing to remember in UDL is that nothing is engaging for all students. And so, something that happens is, oh, you know what? I'm going to do something really cool and progressive. I'm going to create an online module, but then I'm going to require everyone to complete a podcast. Well, that's just the same exact mistake as saying everyone's going to read this and respond. That UDL is really about all options. And so it's really heightening the goal of, I want students to communicate what they learned in an authentic way. And that might be a podcast, or it might be a blog, or it might be being a part of a Twitter chat, or it might be kind of recording a video reflection and putting it out as a vlog, which is like the new word. And so it's all about modeling this. And so every time we have a project, it's okay, so this is what the goal of the project is, and here's 5 or 6 ways that you could kind of share what you know, but we're open to other ways as well if you can propose something that would meet these objectives and align to this rubric. And at the end of the class, a lot of people are like, wow, like it's so different from the way that we've been learning, because generally we spend so much time trying to worry about the technology that we know. Like, I only want to give students options for something that I know how to do, when your students will always surpass you in certain areas. So by saying, I'm going to give you these options and this is what I know how to do, and I can provide you with some exemplars, but you know more. So, use the technology and the authentic means that you have to communicate, and do it that way. And so we're working on that now. Based on what we learn. I'm sure there's going to be more articles and books in the future, but right now we're trying to kind of get in it a little bit to do some more action research on what's really working, and how we can learn more every day about how to improve online education to make it both accessible and engaging by providing students with choices.
And one of the things which I'm particularly noticing, because I'm handling more of the technology issues in this course, is, it's a generational thing, certainly, and we're dealing with current teachers and administrators who certainly use technology on a daily basis, but not all the different technologies are out there. So it's really pointing to the serious need for us to really think ahead of time as to what kind of supports people need in order to do these things from this position of ignorance, for lack of a better term, on the different technologies. I think this problem would probably go away as we get more and more involved with, the next generation of students as they go through the process and they use this technology more and more. But right now, even some very simple things that we think everybody will know how to do, like navigate the learning management system, which is Canvas in our particular case, they don't necessarily know. And providing the instructions and support so that they can get to the point where they can participate fully in the class is a real concern right from the get-go. And as you add more and more technology to that whole exercise, you increase the need for more and more support. So for the first 2 weeks of this class, I have been fielding an awful lot of questions about how do I get into the course? Or now that I'm in the course, how do I post the discussion forum? And you'd think all of that stuff would be done now, but it isn't.
Thank you. Susie, why don't you take the next question from your group?
questions that they've come up with. I do teach a lot online, and a lot of the activities happen asynchronous because of the flexibility and the fact that the courses are not associated with a specific day time that the students would have to meet in a synchronous type session. But I do find that synchronous sessions have such great benefits. So do you have any recommendations for applying UDL to synchronous sessions or video conferences like what we're doing right now to reduce barriers that students may experience?
Again, with UDL, the whole idea is to identify those barriers first. So for example, I mean, right now there's a whole lot of educators who are teaching, and some of those educators may in fact have a night job. And I would never want to require a synchronous session without another option for those educators who truly it would prevent them from meeting a goal. And, you know, right now, you know, to add education to an already very busy schedule makes it really tricky for some people. And so, you know, the idea is that we're grading the progress of students in a course towards some course objectives. And unless the course objective is explicitly students will participate in synchronous sessions, not having another option and allowing a student to kind of fall behind because of that wouldn't necessarily be something that I would recommend. Certainly, I think that it's important to encourage that. So one of the things we're doing now is we're trying to set up an optional synchronous session for a conference. And so we're sending out a Google form, basically, what's your availability? What times could you make? And then we'll try to make a time that will work for most people. And I think that that's helpful of getting feedback about what are the times that work for you? What are the technologies that work for you? But even today, even people who would like to be a part of this chat may have, you know, a school committee meeting tonight and they're teaching a class right now. And so the idea of saying it has to be synchronous really kind of would prevent somebody from being able to participate when they could maybe view this tonight at 11 o'clock and then email us questions. And so I would always say to kind of err on the side of, this is really important, try to make time for it, try to make a priority. Here's all the different options this year. I want you to participate in at least one of them. And I'm gonna try to be receptive to you, but to try to require it for everyone is really difficult when most people in fact take online courses because they are asynchronous.
Right. You can't defeat the purpose by creating restrictions and barriers to the application of the course. So the record function on every one of these video conferencing systems solves a lot of that problem. And the asynchronous nature of email is just perfect. So, you know, we can combine these tools. We can delay our gratification, so to speak, on the answers. And from an instructor's point of view, that does mean that we have to be much more flexible and much more willing to postpone certain grades that will be tied to certain things to allow for the flexibility, which is probably the biggest thing about andragogy that I agree with, you know, that working professionals have different requirements for delivery, and you got to work with them in order to help them.
Okay, thank you. Susie,
Yes.
do you have others there that would like to ask a question?
Yes, that's what we're going to do now.
Okay.
So, do you want to start?
We'll have to have you come closer to the microphone so we can hear you.
I have a question about the technology, that UDL, and some people believe that without technology, UDL would be just a good idea. And so, do you agree?
Go for it, Kate.
Oh, I'm all over that. So,
if I was there, I'd have to hold her back.
no, I do hear this a lot. Now, does technology make UDL easier? Yes. but a pencil is technology. Paper is technology. The more tools you have, whether they're high tech, low tech, or no tech, the better option you have of engaging people. But really, I mean, I work with CAST, who is the Center for Applied Special Technology. You know, they invented UDL. You know, I work very closely with them. I'm part of their cadre. So I can say confidently that everybody at CAST is also on the same page, is that it's not so much about the technology. It's about what do you need to be able to meet this goal. And so, for instance, if everything went out and I had no technology at all, and I was sitting and talking to a class, and I said in a very traditional class, okay, I want you to all read this book, where, I mean, a book is technically technology, but let's just say you're going to read this book and then you're going to respond. It's things like, can you tell me what would prevent you from responding right now? And someone's like, well, you know, I read a little slower, so could I have until tomorrow? Oh yeah, sure. Like, you can have more time. That's UDL. You know, would it be cool if I worked with him, because I would want to do this book with another book, and then we're going to talk about how they compare and contrast, and then we want to do a skit. Yeah, sure, because that's still going to allow you to meet the goal. Therefore, that is UDL. When I go over and I say, you know, when they say, is there any way that we could just go outside and work on it outside? Because it's, you know, it's really noisy in here with that heater and it's distracting me. And I say, yes, absolutely, that's UDL. And so it's not so much about the specific things that the teacher does. It's what the teacher allows the students to do. And it really blows up the misperception that it's about teaching time. It's not about teaching time. It's about learning time. And, you know, to say to a class, what is it that you need to be able to do this? And we try to proactively have as many options as we can. So in an online class, for example, we'll post a module and we'll say, okay, this week the goal is to understand, what does it mean to transform education? Here's 3 peer-reviewed articles if you like research. Here's 10 blogs if you're more interested in perspective. Here's a bunch of online videos. Here's a chapter of a textbook. Choose 3 that you want. And then you're going to think about, what does it take to transform education? And you can do that by writing a reflection, or writing a blog, or doing a podcast, or actually take that first step of transforming education and create a presentation you're going to give to your staff. Or, you know, to go in and to have a meeting with your principal about it, and then write up your notes afterwards. And so it's all about, here's all your options. And then if none of these work for you, you tell me what I need to do for you. And therefore, you're going to have some people who literally will every time choose to read the peer-reviewed article and then to write the discussion, which is what we're saying don't do all the time. And yet there's a handful of people that's awesome for that group. And so to push technology, you know, on the group also kind of goes against the premise. And so this idea that you need technology for UDL is the antithesis of UDL, which says we don't know what people need to learn. We have the goals and we know why it's important, but then we have to kind of allow people to be self-directed, creative problem solvers to figure out how are they going to get there, whether they have technology or not.
So the basic premise of UDL, or having a class on UDL, is a challenge, right? You get a bunch of people in a room and you want to teach them how to run a UDL class, and you want to model the behavior. You have to ask them to do things they might not normally do, because they need to experience the full spectrum of the UDL guidelines. For instance, they have to know what some other people in their classrooms might have experienced. So that means you've got to do a very un-UDL thing, and you have to say, okay, during the course of this quarter or this semester, I want you to do all 5 modes of delivery, for instance. And they might not ever choose 3 of those, but you're going to make them choose those 3 so that they can experience it, which is, a contradiction in terms. But if they don't experience it, they're never going to be able to really encourage and work with somebody who has to. And, it's a crazy little contradiction that we deal with, which is kind of fun to a certain extent, because you're actually pushing people into their uncomfortable zone.
And I even do that with students all the time. And so I always say, these are your options. This is what you have to do. But my job is to push you. One of the UDL guidelines talks about the importance of mastery-oriented feedback. And, the idea that the most successful people in the world are those who fail the most is really true. And, you know, to say, again, I'm not going to tell you have to do video for this one, because that may be a barrier, but like over the course of the course, our job is almost like we're curators of content. That's what a universally designed teacher does, because knowledge is rather meaningless today. We went through the industrial age and we went through the information age, where a teacher was the only person who had that. Whereas now we're not the only people who have the knowledge. The phone has the knowledge, the library has the knowledge, the internet has the knowledge. And so it's really about all of these are acceptable sources of knowledge. And now you be resourceful and you start to explore and you dive into them. And again, knowing that as much as we want it to be technology, sometimes technology becomes the barrier, even in an online course, you know, where someone says, you know, I really want to read the research. And at some point I would say, I've noticed that you've read the peer-reviewed research for 2 weeks in a row. I'm now going to give you some feedback, and I want you to try to do something out of your comfort zone. And here's how I'm going to help you cope. Here's my cell phone number. If when you're doing it, you get stuck, call me. And so it's not about that it's totally driven by students, but it's driven by students with a coach on the side. And so the teacher, it's a much more powerful position, I think, than before, of standing up and saying, this is how we're going to do it. It's, I'm going to allow you to do it your way, and then I'm going to help you do it that way better, which really kind of values variability and optimizes choice. But at the same time, you're going to have a lot more authentic growth and results than if you were trying to fit a bunch of square pegs into a round hole.
My question is what UDL can do for students who don't have access to internet permanently.
Yeah, I'm getting static too. Okay.
You heard that?
I think the question was, what do we do about students who don't have internet connections?
Permanently. They never have.
Never.
Well, I mean, that is a very large barrier for an online course.
But it is a universal learning, so we should consider other countries don't have ever access to internet, you know, and they say in future they make a decision that influence on all the world, you know.
So one of the things, this is actually,
think about that.
Yep, certainly. One of the things that's really timely right now is I just watched a program about it on Dateline, that there's a group of very, very brilliant engineers, I am not one of them, that is creating a way to get internet on 2G phones to go out to countries who do not have internet access, so they can access online education and libraries and things like that over 2G cell phones, of which is a much more cost-effective idea. You know, that being said, is UDL doesn't have to be done online. And right now, the U.S. Department of Education is working in partnership with UDL IRN and CAS to create a UDL credentialing and certification process, which is going to start in 2018. And there'll be a core credential. It's almost going to be like a national board certification where teachers can go online and complete the certification and be endorsed as a UDL certified teacher. The next step is going to be UDL accreditation for universities, for ed tech companies, for things like that. And basically you have to have a certain number of teachers who have core credentials and the understanding, and it's, again, it's a portfolio system, it's a peer review system, and then you could be accredited. And the last portion of that, the third year, is going to be an endorsement for curriculum and ed tech materials. And I believe at that point, you're going to end up with some really rich programs that are truly universally designed, because right now there is nothing that is endorsed as being universally designed, where it can be a package that goes out in like a book or more of a traditional correspondence course, for those people who do not have the internet access. And so there's a couple of different angles. So the barrier is some people are prevented from accessing really great free education because of their lack of technology. One way is to try to get them technology, this kind of 2G idea. And the other is to remove the need of technology to get these really great programs. And so I think we're coming at it from both ends. And again, after I can give you the link to the article, because I just watched it like a couple of days ago and was thinking that was really cool. And so the idea would be we donate our old crappy phones that don't work anymore. We send them over to a country, and then they can literally get all of this stuff on their phones without having internet. And again, that's way above my pay grade. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it seems like it's going to happen really soon.
Right. So I don't know if you've checked out this book, which is kind of like the Bible of UDL, written by the creators of UDL. But inside the book is the point here. They've done a very, very interesting and creative thing. As you go through the book, the text of the book is all over the place. But on the margins here, they have these QR codes for these videos, which are basically integrated into the story of that they're telling in the rest of the book. So that kind of technology is growable. So you can read the story without the videos at any time. But once you have the technology and you can get those VR codes working, you can do that. Now, if you go and you access this book at the CAST site, which is free, those videos are all integrated. But obviously, you need the technology to do that.
Thank you. Why don't we let Allison ask? She's put a question into the Google Doc that I think I'd like to hear answered.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was almost not going to ask that question, but I'll ask it if you would like me to. Okay, well, my husband actually works as the VP of Innovation for the Greater Houston Partnership. So virtual reality is a big buzzword around my house. And he went to South by Southwest, and it was, it's all he's been talking about. And so I've been very behind in this and don't really, I'm struggling to see the connection to education, but I'm thinking there is. So I was just curious what connection you see with virtual reality to education and how it goes along with universal design for learning. Cool.
Actually, we have a VR program here at New England Tech where the students are actually developing VR interfaces. And not that I play a lot with it, but Katie actually for Christmas gave me a pair of VR goggles. So, I've been taking roller coaster rides and things like that. But the immersive nature of the virtual reality, I think, is a real possibility. We can actually place our students into certain situations, obviously prearranged and created situations, but I'm sure that live virtual reality is not all that far away, where we could actually place our students inside of medical facilities where they're touring grand rounds with, their medical advisor and things like that, or we're putting them into industries where they're going to actually be able to see, not touch yet, the actual technology that they are there to, to study or to see how it works and things like that. We can bring them into, natural environments to actually look at the plants and the animals and things like that for those kinds of studies as well.
Another really cool thing that CAST has done is Jose Blackerby is a professor at Stanford, and he is the head of research and development at CAST. But he lives in San Francisco or wherever Stanford is. He lives in California, and then he comes back out. And CAST bought this machine that Jose Blackerby will teach his class from CAST in Wakefield, Mass, but will be projected in Stanford. It's like a robot Jose Blackerby is presenting. And so not only does it bring educators to students, but it brings students to real experiences. And so it really can go both ways. Whereas like right now, you could watch a recording of a really stellar professor, but you don't have that professor in front of you giving you their undivided attention, literally walking around the room. Like he can make the robot Jose Blackerby move around the room and it has his face on it and having real conversations. And so I think that it allows really great educators to be present where students are. It also allows students to be present, present where learning is happening. And it almost is like, I don't know if anyone's ever read The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury, but it seems very like scientific futuristic, where if you read it, the first story is this illustrated man is about a man, he has all these tattoos, and each tattoo tells a story. And one of the stories is talking about what's happening now, where it was way before the time that we thought it was possible, that these kids could create virtual reality playrooms. And these little kids were playing in their virtual reality jungle, and they were petting lions, and they could touch them, and the smell was there. And they got mad at their parents, and they wished that the lions would eat their parents. And then the line between virtual reality and reality blurred, and the lions were there. And you know how that ends. It's not a happy story. But
so good for me.
But when you think about the idea of like, how close are we getting to being able to pet the lions and having them walk around our house, it's mind-blowing. And you can learn a heck of a lot more of watching a lion walk around your house than you can of watching a video from it, which is right now as close as we are.
Thank you very much. Pam or Donna, would you like to jump in with a question, and then we'll go back to Susie?
I have a question. I'm wondering if you could share some of the most like innovative things that you've seen as you're doing online work with either teachers or with younger students. What kinds of choices are they coming up with to share their learning with you?
I think in the graduate courses, I largely work with teachers and administrators. And I think the big switch has been, there's no more essays, there's no more tests at all. Everything is an authentic product. If you can't use it in your job, it's worthless to me as an instructor. And I think that's a huge shift, because I do a lot of work at colleges. And I've been presenting in a lot of colleges lately that still are very heavy on, it's a heck of a lot easier to have Canvas grade a multiple choice test that you had nothing to do with making, but that is a completely inauthentic product. And when you say, I want you to create something that you're going to use, and I don't really know what that's going to look like. You know, it might be a lesson plan. It might be just doing it and recording a video. It might be, you know, going on and on. And again, the technology that people are aware of that I am not is really neat, because people will turn in, you know, I didn't know what ThingLink was until someone turned it in. And I'm like, that's so cool. How'd you make that? I want to make that. You know, I didn't know what, let's see, I didn't know about Vocaroo. Hold on, something just popped up on my computer. I have to come back. I didn't know what Vocaroo was until somebody sent me like a Vocaroo podcast. And so again, this whole idea of when you provide options without having an option that says, or something else, if I approve it and it's going to meet the goals, you know, you're opening up a world of possibility about, you know, you're taking the collective knowledge of the 125 people and we're all learning from each other. And I think that's the most progressive thing you can do, is because there's only so much I can ever do. I'm just me. But once I allow 120 people to show me, well, what's you? We all grow. And so I think giving up the ownership of feeling like there's right answers, because there's not right answers. And again, an essay is not an authentic, a blog is authentic. A research paper is authentic if you want to be a researcher at a college. An essay is completely inauthentic unless you want to be in the New Yorker magazine, but that wouldn't be in an education course. You know, that would be somebody who's like writing fiction. And so, you know, I would say the most progressive things that I have seen are things that people create and then they use in an authentic way, and then they reflect and say, holy crap, that's cool. As opposed to, wow, I got a 75 or I got a 90, great. But it doesn't mean anything, because that's the essay is not improving their practice. The test is not improving their practice. It's the actual products of work that they would be creating and getting authentic feedback on it that I think is really powerful.
Yeah, so one of the things that instructional designers are now doing, which I'm finding pretty interesting, which goes right along with what Katie's just said, is either the gamification or the simulation of the learning environment. So we have a construction management program, a master's degree program, where they're actually created a game that is, you know, the running of a project. And it's, you know, it's different than, you know, I'm going to write a research project about how I would run a product. They are actually running the product. And, you know, that kind of immersion into the options that will come up, which they have no control over. They put in, their information, which they're, have to study about in terms of making this real. And then there is a reaction for everything that they do that they have to respond to, which is a very authentic situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Back to Susie. Maybe you have another question from one of your students.
Not hearing it.
Just a second. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Come closer, come closer, closer. Come closer.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to kiss the screen.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, so this book provide multiple means of expression, engagement, and representation. So this is like, as an instructor, this means a lot of work. So especially in colleges, some of the instructors have to manage, more than 3 courses. And if you do the PowerPoint, you do the screencast of the PowerPoint, and you also write out the, write down the narrative. That's a lot of work. And so, do you have any suggestions for the instructor?
I would say to start off by curating content. Is we don't have to create all this work. This work has been created. So if I'm teaching about how to create a really good universally designed lesson, it's been done. There is a PowerPoint, there is a video, there is an article, there is a book. I can record a lecture. And so it's a lot of it, what I find is finding things, and you can have people help you find them. Like one really sneaky thing is literally to have an assignment that says, I want you to find the best explanation you can find online of what's the difference between a multi-tiered system of support and a response to intervention system, for example. Turn them in, and now you have 30 of them that you use the next time you teach the course as options. So don't think about creating it. What you have created is okay. It's what are you going to supplement what you have created with other things. And again, we're all of us are kind of always reinventing the wheel, where you take what you've created as one, and then you find the other 5 from what other people have. And with the internet and with the willingness of people to share, there's just so much that's out there already. And so I don't ever create more than one. I create one and then find others to supplement.
Right. And then those things that you want to create, start off slowly. You don't have to do the whole course every week, every lesson with new material all the time. So find something you want to investigate and try out yourself to see what works not only for you, but for your students. One tool which I find to be an amazingly versatile tool is the various applications out there that do screen capturing. The one I like the most is a Macintosh-only application called Screenflow, which is just this amazing, easy program to run, which allows you to record your screen, with a push of a button, literally. So you can do a demonstration, you can convert a PowerPoint to a lecture with you either on camera or off camera. You can, bring in all other sorts of resources very, very easily. It's a $100 program, which is far better than any of the free programs like Screencast-O-Matic or Screenify, or, there's about 1,000 of them, I think, now. So, find an application that you like, gently build up your resume of using it, and then use it whenever you can that makes sense. And, going back to one of the first things I was saying, the amount of problems I'm having, or the amount of questions I'm having with students accessing the course, I don't have to write down the list of things that they're doing. I open up Screenflow and I said, here's how to do it. You go to the course, you press this button, you go to this page, you hit this little thing, bang, I'm done in 30 seconds. That's faster than me writing it. And, I've given a visual thing that has, the exact instructions right there for the person to use whenever they can.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Donna, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Sure, I'd like to ask Katie a question. In the past, when I have taught graduate students, I get so excited when I I find out that one of them has taken one of our lessons back to their classroom and used it. And so I was wondering if you have a favorite anecdote about what one of your students has taken back to their classrooms and reported to you on.
I think one of my favorite assignments is I do a student feedback assignment. And so it's all about the best way to model the importance of being an expert learner is to be an expert learner yourself. And so one of the assignments is I want you to get authentic feedback from your students about how are you doing as a teacher. And so again, they have a lot of options. Like you could have a class discussion about, what do I need to work on as a teacher? I need you guys to help me. There's so many survey tools already in existence that you can send out. And so all of these different things. And, to ask students what you need to work on. And then I want you to come back and I want you to tell me what the experience was like for you. And the whole idea is to really kind of model and say, you know what, we're not all good at everything. Like I'm taking a risk here by saying, what do I need to work on? And I'm going to try something and I might fail. And I want you guys to try something hard and might fail. And we're just going to do it together. And so, UDL is very big on a culture of risk-taking, a culture of being able to cope with mistakes because ultimately you need them. And so it's so funny because I have these teachers who they don't have to show me the results of the survey. They just have to reflect on the survey, because it's hugely personal and I don't want to increase the threat of doing it by saying, oh my gosh, we're going to have all of these, she's going to see that all my students think that I don't value mistakes or that I don't prepare well for class or that it takes me too long to grade. And I would say almost 100% of the time people share their full results with me and are shocked at the fact that students, starting in kindergarten, students know what you're not good at. And they can sing like a bird. And everyone's always concerned about maybe the students will be nice and they won't tell me. I'm like, oh, I don't think you've done this before because they will tell you. And I just had a teacher in my own district where I teach in, I basically said to all my educators in professional development, I want you to do this. Students are not happy with their education. They're not. And you can say all you want. No, they're all engaged. But they're not. They're compliant and they're nice kids, but they're not actually engaged. And so one of the teachers, gave it, and again, stellar teacher. And so, teacher cares about me. Almost all the kids said yes. Teacher pushes me to do my best. Almost all the kids say yes. Teacher allows us to make mistakes. Almost all the kids say no. And the teacher said, oh my gosh, no, I really allow you to make mistakes. I really embrace challenges. And this little second grader's like, you think you do, but you're really not good at that. And just the whole idea of, she was like, it was mind blowing to me that when you think you're good at something, how none of us are perfect at anything. And this idea that, none of the classes we're currently teaching are without the need for improvement. And when you ask students, what would it take for you to be more engaged, knowing that these are my standards and I can't lower them? This is the rigor that I expect and I'm not lowering the standards. What could I do differently? And that is the entrance to the kingdom, because they will tell you, kids at the very littlest age know, well, it would be nice if we could move around more. Why do we have to read the same books all the time? Can't we play and you start to realize as a practitioner, wow, I thought I had it, but none of us ever have it. And that's what makes it magic, that what we're doing isn't working. Evidence, ask your kids to tell you honestly. And then it's a really cool opportunity to continue to improve.
Thank you. We have one more week in the semester. I think I'll try it.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. Yes, it's so fun.
Formative assessment, if nothing else. I had one, we provide these teacher training programs at New England Tech for free for local teachers once a year. And I always do one on teaching with technology. And this last time I had this special ed teacher from a high school program here in Providence who loved to do videos of her class's projects. And she was very, very proud of these. And, one of my tasks in these courses is to make them aware of all the different technology that's available to them. And this particular teacher was having this huge problem of managing just the volume of all the videos she took. She was taking them every day. And, she was very, very proud of these things. And she wanted to show me them. And then she had to find them, the right ones she wanted to show me. And then it was on another drive, so she had to bring it in the next day. And I said, well, how come you're not using a YouTube channel to manage all of this stuff? Something that's free and that you might assume that everybody would know of. And she said, what do you mean use a YouTube channel? And I said, well, do you have a Gmail account? And she said, yeah, I've had one for years. I said, well, you have a YouTube account. You know, just store everything there and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can index them and you can, she was just floored that, wow, I can do this. And I said, yeah, and you can do it for free. So go ahead and do it.
Thank you very much. I am very aware of the time that you've taken out of your day to meet with us today. Katie and Tom, thank you. I know that we're going to reconvene at 8 o'clock tonight, EDD time, and have a second chance to finish up some of the questions. And Susie, you've got some students coming back to join us as well? Awesome. And we have some other guests coming in as well that are interested in meeting the two of you that have been involved in the book study. Really appreciate the time you've taken, and we'll continue our conversation later today.
Okay, fantastic. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.